Hi. Hi.
That's great. Oh, you're on the outside. That's nice.
Yes, nice weather today.
Yeah, right. I can
So
see
I
that.
decided to go out.
That's nice. And you're also wearing mustache, so it's actually like a
Yeah,
live stream with two
yeah.
mustache persons. That's great. I love it.
It's it's experiment time, COVID time.
I'm
It's
always up for like pro mustache, really. Okay, so I think we can start. I'm just gonna give a short introduction, so I tell
hmm
people that don't know about the format what it is exactly. So my name is Emanuele Del Rosso. I'm a social media manager of the cartoon movement, and I am a cartoonist myself. We decided that we wanted to show the face of the cartoonists and talk to them directly, and because we think satire is important, of course, it's crucial, and also getting some background information and some backstage information for the cartoon from the cartoonists. It's I thought it could be interesting for many people. This is the second episode. The first one was with Thierry Royard, which is also the editor-in-chief of the cartoon movement. And we talked about many things from how he thinks about his cartoons and why satire is important, and also what the cartoon movement is doing, of course. And this time instead we have Gatis Luca. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
got this Šļūka. It's actually in
Šļūka, okay.
Latvian, but
Okay.
in English version it's got this Luka. Okay.
So, okay, so I was almost there. And I think you can introduce yourself, and then we will delve into a couple of topics and also take a look at three or four cartoons, because one feedback we got from the first episode is not enough cartoons were shown. We showed zero, so yeah, of course it was not
hmm
enough. And this time instead we have four that you selected, but then we will talk about it later. So tell us something about you.
Yeah. So I'm cartoonist Gatis Šļūka from Latvia. I'm working in a newspaper Latvijas Avīze. It comes out 3-4 times in a week. And also I'm working as a freelance artist, and that's maybe in short about me.
But for how long have you been a cartoonist?
Uh, Already 20 years. I'm
Okay,
or maybe already 21 or 22, because time is going very fast.
that's quite some
And
time.
I'm working in that newspaper, Latvijas
Hmm.
Avīze. So I was lucky to start work there already in 18 years old. I was in that
Oh,
time.
okay. So you were really
Yeah,
young. Okay. Wow.
yeah, and so that's how time is passed already. 20 years.
But how did you start? Like, have you always wanted to be a political cartoonist and you were sending cartoons, or it was something that just started
Mm,
by chance?
no, in first time I was not a political cartoonist. It was a section for young people in a newspaper.
Hmm.
There I started my cartoonist career in that newspaper, and after a couple years I started also draw second page cartoons, like editorial cartoons for Latvijas Avīze, and yeah, but I was in right time in right place actually. So
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
I didn't knew that before, but I realized that they searched for cartoonist in that time, and I was there, and I show them my cartoons, and they like it, and
Well, I mean, your
so
cartoons are really beautiful, so that's probably why they like it.
thank you,
I
but
mean, you're really
I think
humble. I can see that. But I mean, Avgatis, he also won a number of prizes and has been consistently exhibited in Caldas de Raina as well for the exhibition. Now, remind me the name of the contest of
world world
the
press
the
cartoon.
World Press Cartoon, yeah. And he was also a member of jury of a number of cartoon contests. And the last one was actually with me. We were in the
Yeah,
preparatory committee for the European Press Prize. So I mean,
it was a nice experience.
there's a
Yeah.
lot to be told. There's a lot to be told. But I think
Mhm.
what we can do is, well, first of all, explain the topics we picked for this discussion. So the topics are two. And the first one was suggested by me and is freedom of the press, because some days ago it was actually World Press Freedom. So for me, it's actually a really big topic, and I thought that would have been interesting. And you got suggested also the other face, the same coin, which is fake news instead, because of course information is important, but it has to be the right information and it has to be quality information, because fake news is actually something that is widespread. It's been there forever, and now it became something with this term fake news. So you sent me some cartoons. Now I'm gonna try and flip the screen, so you won't see my face, guys. Oh, and also if you want to ask questions, just ask questions, and then I will see them popping in the lines down, and then I will just read them immediately. Okay, so let's go with the 3 cartoons. I put them in order myself, so I'm gonna go flipping on this one. Yeah. Okay. Do you see it? Okay.
Yeah, I see it. Yes.
Okay. So this is one of your cartoons. I find it really, really interesting. I also like a lot your style. Can you tell us something about it? I mean, of course, it's self-evident, but maybe you want to explain a bit how the idea came about and how you go about with the composition of the cartoon.
Actually, it was how you see there is, I think, 2016 cartoon. I made it in that year, so I didn't remember actually the process so much of that cartoon, but yes, it's about information. So like in authoritarian regimes, yes. Government is trying to control all the information, and maybe it's sometimes difficult to find useful information or some truth. So it's like leg on a papers, and yeah, cartoons is difficult sometimes maybe to talk about them. You should see them, yes. But
yeah, well, we have seen it. I mean, like,
I can talk maybe about. You asked about how I made them, so
yeah, exactly.
I can
another interesting
show
thing.
like this. I make cartoons. This was made on just like this on paper.
Okay, so you draw on paper.
Normal thin copy paper, and with color pencils and ink. So this is about process of this, and I realized that I started more and more sketching on iPad and make small thumbnails first, maybe if I had time, because often there is so less time for making cartoons, because in newspaper comes out every day, and maybe you got a topic, or you decide to make a cartoon maybe in 2 p.m. in a day, and already in 4 or 5 6 o'clock you should already send
so you need to
ready cartoon.
I can
newspaper.
imagine.
So but when I had time, I try to make small thumbnails and think about composition and so on.
But coming back to the topic of information, because I think it's really interesting. I mean, of course, we can see your cartoon, and that's your interpretation of what information is. So I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing, okay, information is something that people need to really fight for, and they can just take some bits and pieces because there's always control on information. Okay, so that would be my interpretation. Yeah. Is it what you feel about it? So information for you is like this in the society?
It's difficult to say. Maybe it's not so bad in Latvia or other European countries, but it depends from time,
of course,
place, and.
Well, I mean, I can speak for myself. In Italy, it's really difficult to find quality information, and there's a clear connection in between information and the government, so then everything is controlled. So I feel even
Yes,
even doing satire like you do and freely like you do it, so like getting published on a newspaper and maybe passing through these messages is really complicated. And so also the job of the satirical cartoonist is really complicated also to make a living out of it, so it's really rare what you have of being like in-house political cartoonist for a long while. And I think it's really important, like we should wish for all the countries to be in this particular situation.
yes, and information is a very important thing, especially today, and maybe more important than I don't know, fuel or some
Yeah.
or gold or other things like this. So everyone's so government and other people maybe often try to control of this. Yeah.
Okay, but let's pass to the second cartoon then, uh, which is instead what you chose as a topic. So as I said, at the
Uh-huh.
beginning, I picked information and freedom of the press, and instead like it's this one. So it's again by you, and instead is about the fake news. So I went on the web a tiny bit before this call, and I searched for studies about fake news and the perception of people. And I can tell you, for example, that from a poll from 2017, so it's already 3 years ago, aggregated number of 20% plus 40% of Americans were in between I don't believe almost anything I read because I feel like it's fake in terms of information,
Yeah.
and the other 40% was saying some of the information that I receive is actually fake news. So then we have this cartoon, which I mean, I think tells the story of how people feel, because yeah, of course, you listen to people that give you information, but then it's really difficult to actually um, figure out from where the information comes and so on. What do you think is the role of political cartoons in actually making people aware of this?
Um, yes, I think cartoons can help maybe. Cartoons can help people think more, maybe about important things, and uh, this I heard a lot around that is a very important topic, and especially in Latvia also there are uh, investigation journalism who can try to compete or against fake news. And what can I tell more about this? I lost
But
some.
do you think I have like a question that I came up to my mind some minutes ago. Do you think there can be fake news also in cartoons? So like in the end, like you now draw cartoons
uh,
and you pick a topic, but I mean, do you think that can also be something that spreads fake news?
probably yes. Sometimes maybe someone is paying for a cartoon and wants that you make something like this person tells you, and maybe they give you money and tell what you need to draw. I don't take that kind of offers, or mm, that kind of I don't make that kind of drawings, and I'm not drawing for political parties or something like this, but some of cartoonists are doing this, and especially in the tough times when it's not so good times for cartooning, and maybe sometimes income is not so well.
Yeah,
So
of course.
many
So
many
there are
cartoonists
two
is
there are two
doing this.
questions for you. So there's one question is where are you from? So that's a short answer to be given.
I'm from Latvia. It's
And
in
the
the
second,
European Union, in Eastern
yeah,
European, Eastern
yeah.
European country. So sometimes
And the
people
other
don't know.
question is, how many books did you release?
I release 3 cartoon books with my cartoons. First came out in 2006, second in 2015, and third one was about Latvia, and it was 2 years ago. So it mainly like a compilation of my cartoons, which I made for a newspaper mainly, and
Mhm.
but it's
And
always
so, talking about your cartoons, I'm actually curious about what do you think makes a good cartoon in terms of style, but also in terms of like, I don't know, like, I mean, I read some books, of course, about how to do satire. So what's like the process in the people, for example. It is something that I feel people learn by themselves, but there are some studies also, you know. So what do you think is like a formula or something that makes a cartoon strong or appealing, you know?
the first. I think the good cartoon is like strong message and good drawing, good
Okay.
style. So
Yeah.
altogether 50-50, it comes very good cartoon. For me, in first I saw drawing, and if it's too messy or if it's not catching me, then I not interested in that cartoon. But if it's simply made maybe and or there is style, or then I start look at it, and I find a message idea, and so that's maybe that's for me personally.
Okay, there's another question, and it's do you think the cartoon ends in the newspapers?
Mm, what can you explain?
I don't
Can you
I
repeat?
I don't know exactly what it means. I'm reading the question, so it's do you think the cartoon ends in newspapers?
Ends in newspapers.
As in
Uh,
maybe the function of the cartoons is only for the newspapers?
no, of course I don't think so. That it's not just for newspapers, but the problem is that newspapers is paying for cartoons, like many years ago already, and now it's difficult maybe to switch to another platform, or to completely to make cartoons just in Instagram, or in Twitter or somewhere else, and people often think that maybe you making cartoons just for fun, but you have to eat something also.
Of
And
course.
if like now it's not good times for newspapers, and many information channels, so yeah, so also for cartoonists it's also not a very nice time in
Yeah, I mean
for
there is a
living.
lot. There is, and I mean on the one hand, maybe the cartoonists are more because of course you can easily draw. You can use an iPad, and in the end you can put it on the web. Um,
Yeah,
but then on the other hand, instead, of course, it's difficult to make a living. But
yeah, you have.
there are other two questions that are actually interesting.
Mhm.
So there's one question that is, do you think the caricature should be followed by words? So do you think that there should be always captions in the cartoons, or you prefer one or the other?
Mm, uh, of course, especially in cartoon contests or exhibitions, mainly are they exhibit cartoons without words, because it's better to for people to understand, in not just in Latvia, or maybe somewhere else where people can understand English. And but if you have a cartoon without words, it works without words, and everyone can understand it. of course, you should understand the topic maybe or background of that. So in this way, I think, of course, best cartoon is without words, but I like use words also because it's not possible to make a cartoon about some topics like some language jokes or like like this without words. So
Of course.
so I'm using words and making cartoons also without words. It's not my, how to say, main thing is I'm just making cartoons without words or just with words. It depends from idea and depends from topic.
And there's two more questions that I think they are also slightly connected. So one question is the freedom of the cartoonists. So are the cartoonists free as before? And the second question is, are they recognized in the industry in Latvia? The first part is interesting. Like, so what do you think about the freedom of a cartoonist?
Yeah, difficult question. It's I think it's maybe not so big difference between is it freedom of journalism, freedom of cartoonist, or it depends from, I don't know, many things. Also, how like I told before, maybe some cartoonists need money and they maybe making sometimes cartoons which is not so good, and maybe they are not happy about them, but they are making them and got money, and I'm quite lucky to not doing this. But it's difficult to say.
And what do you think? What's your perception of the industry of political cartoonists in Latvia instead? Is it a respected profession? As in, like, maybe also journalists, are they respected or are they not?
I think Latvian people like cartoons a lot, actually. It comes already from Soviet times. There was in Latvia was a very famous humor magazine, Dadzis, and people they send out many copies, and people love it, and so we have a good old masters cartoonists in Latvia, so Latvian cartoonist school. So yes, but future of political cartoons, I don't know. Seems like the golden years of political cartoons already. Maybe was before, and I don't know how
But do you
will
have
be in future. But
there's one thing that I'm seeing that's actually really consistent in different countries. I was also talking about it with Thierd the other during the first episode, and it is that there's not that many young political cartoonists. And I don't live on political cartoons. I do communication and I work also as a marketeer and so on. So because I cannot make enough money also about it, I publish my cartoons in some magazines, but it's difficult to actually make a living out of it. But I am consistently the youngest cartoonist, and I'm not that young in the end. And it's really, I'm not seeing people actually getting into the industry that easy. And there's also a lot of old cartoonists that are just like occupying positions in good newspapers because of course like they are really good, and newspapers, they know they can work together. But maybe there's also, because of the crisis of the journalists and journalism in general, there's also less space to enter the industry, right?
Yes, because the newspapers are just getting less and less, and there is no place for cartoons so much, and maybe the owners of newspapers also decide that cartoon is it's like something like extra, and if we need to uh, save money, then maybe cartoonist is some extra which maybe we can live without.
Which is
But
also funny because in the end, it actually is the part of the newspaper that's actually seen the most because it's
yes,
also
I also
really, really, right? I mean, it's also really easy to actually read a
like,
cartoon instead of just like
yes,
reading
like
a whole news, you know?
especially today, I think, because people like images. They maybe just read the titles of articles and going through newspaper, and but they also see cartoons, and I think power of power of image, it's a very important thing. Maybe
Yeah.
people don't think about that sometimes, but they
Well,
should.
I mean, I think we saw it. Um, I mean, if we look back at like 5 years ago, the attack at Charlie Hebdo, and like cartoons are
Yeah,
just like always striking something, and they touch a nerve, and many more people actually read them rather than also online. I mean, they go. Say for example, you publish a cartoon on Twitter that can get viral. I mean, an editorial or a whole article hardly will just like get viral, because people actually need to get in and read it all. And so I think that's one thing that's actually really interesting about satire in general, right?
yeah. So I think important thing is to find a new way how to get money for cartoons
Oh
actually,
yeah,
and
oh,
that
yeah,
in that way already maybe future of cartoonists would be brighter.
yeah, yeah.
So
In Italy, there is a newspaper that actually is a really big one that is actually. I mean, I'm just campaigning against this thing because we also have this problem in Italy, and it's actually a really big one. They basically decided when they switched from their old cartoonist, which went to another newspaper, and they were searching a new one. They actually opened up a contest for cartoonists.
mhm.
But then from then on, and this was 7 months ago, from then on, they've been publishing cartoons for free, just searching for the new person. But in the end, they actually keep publishing for free the people that want to work with them.
Yeah,
And I feel like
that's
it's actually really unfair.
yeah, it's
And
often like that someone uh, give you a proposition or offer like you can we will publish your cartoon, it will be seen by many wide audience, you get likes, you get you get
yeah, right,
yeah, but
visibility. Yeah,
it works, it doesn't work mainly actually in that way that you
yeah,
get after that some money, but so yeah, I'm happy that people
yeah.
actually asking for publishing of cartoons, because sometimes it just gets stolen and published
Mm.
somewhere without permission, and maybe even signature is cut off from it. It
Yeah, oh
makes me
yeah, it happened to me
sometimes
as well.
angry, but that's how it is.
So I'm
So
gonna
if
answer.
someone asks, can I
Yeah,
publish your cartoon? It's good, yeah.
I'm gonna answer a question that's for me because it's about the magazines that I was talking about. So they're asking what is the Italian magazine you mean? The name of the magazine is this, Il
Uh,
Manifesto. So
okay.
they were publishing with a really good cartoonist, I mean, whose name is Mauro Biani, which now publishes for La Repubblica, which is not a newspaper. And many cartoonists are now publishing their cartoons on Il Manifesto. I mean, I understand that it's a really quality newspaper, but what they're doing about this thing, I really don't understand. I really don't approve. I think it's a really bad message in general because there's a lot of really good cartoonists that are not getting paid, or even worse, their cartoons are used on television without paying them, and um, yeah, so it's yeah, okay, you're
Yeah, that
welcome. You're
maybe
welcome,
probably
Okimo, but yeah.
probably yes. People could tell that, yeah, you are your cartoonists just want money. Yeah, if the main thing is idea and like this.
Yeah,
Yes, of course, but the money also is important thing, like
yeah,
in
exactly.
every job.
Also to be respected. There's also another comment instead, which is about Naji Ali, which is a Palestinian caricaturist that was murdered because of one of his cartoons. I mean, we know that it's also what comes with being having a strong mean of communication. Satire makes people really angry, and it touches some nerves that they're
Yes,
more
and
easily touched, and it's also a dangerous job for in many countries, as much as journalism, right?
yes, and here we can see the also that what I mentioned before, that the power of image is very strong thing. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm gonna flip the screen again because we have one another cartoon that actually is the one that you selected. That's not
yeah,
yours. This
yes,
is from Moro, which
yeah,
is a Cuban cartoonist, and
yes, and
he also is the cartoonist that because they organized a political contest 1 year ago in Italy, and he won the second prize. And I really absolutely love his illustrations. Do you want to say something about why did you pick this one?
um, when you ask me to pick some cartoon from another artist, then this cartoon came in my mind. I remember it, and I chose it, and I love the composition of that cartoon, and also the message, and uh, how nicely there this banana is made like pencil, and
Yeah,
yeah, and also the colors is minimal colors, and then yellow stands out, and this the main thing is in the front, and so I think it's very good cartoon in
I
overall.
think it's also really interesting because oh wait, there's a question, so I'm going to interrupt my thinking. So, do you think political cartoons can be translated? To which extent? So, if it means like, I guess it means like the caption. And yeah, so I have an idea about it, but do you want to answer first?
Uh, what you mean? What you mean?
If I think so the question is, do you think political cartoons can be translated? So I mean, maybe the question is related to the captions.
Probably sometimes I also making some political cartoon for Latvian newspaper, and
Hmm.
there is some maybe Latvian topic
Hmm.
or article near my cartoon. And when I published it somewhere abroad, then other people can understand it, even
Hmm.
if I made it for Latvian newspaper, and because problems are similar sometimes in different countries, and so here also maybe it's made for uh, for Cuban
Hmm.
politics, probably. I just guessing, but
Yeah, I think what
I
is
can understand
interesting.
it also. And,
Yeah, exactly. What
yeah,
is interesting is more that some concepts are cross-cultural
yes,
and they can be understood by different cultures. And there's also another thing. I remember a story. I don't remember who told me that. It was in Italy. It was a cartoonist in Italy, and basically they were talking about the fact that Erdogan had gotten really offended by a cartoon that was showing him like a cat. And it's something that actually recurs because, for example, there's a cartoon that was also the one that generated um, the whole decision of the New York Times to stop publishing cartoons. That was drawing Netanyahu like a dog.
yeah.
And I think
I know.
that
Yeah,
the main difference with satire um, and with journalism in general is that what power doesn't like is actually being ridiculized. So when you actually make fun of power, you take out its power, and instead like being
Yeah,
serious doesn't really work, you know. And that's also what is interesting about this cartoon, because like the pencil is a banana, so you actually just slip, and then it's you just basically you're just ridicule, you know. Instead of like a whole serious article, this is much more punchy, and it just gets to the guts of the politicians, right?
yeah, all right, yes. And in that image, you also see that this guy is very looks like he maybe made a powerful speech, and he feels very powerful and going, and suddenly someone make a cartoon about him, and
Yeah,
you
right.
step
And then
on that.
everything is just like made fun of, and I think that's something that
Yeah, and that's
um
also you asked before. Yeah, what makes a good cartoon? So yeah, so this is maybe actually there is three parts. This one is a good illustration or yeah, so a good image. Then is a powerful message, and the third one is fun inside
yeah, right.
in the same time.
So
So
what would you suggest to a cartoon to a young person that draws, or even old? I mean, that wants to become a cartoonist. What do you think this person should do, apart from drawing cartoons, of course?
uh, study, go to school.
Send you the cartoons,
From apart from
buy
drawing,
your books. Come on,
yeah, yeah,
you
take
can also make like some, you know, like push out.
you have to try to be, let's say, wide view of
Mhm.
everything, and yeah. But one thing is also drawing. It's
Yeah, right.
because I can tell about myself also. Maybe 20 years ago when I started in newspaper, that cartoons was maybe not so good. If I looked at them now, but when you all time you are working and you're training your brains and you are drawing, then it's getting better and better. So
Okay, we have one
like in
last
every job.
question. Yeah, of course. We have one last question, and then we will have to interrupt this conversation, although it's really interesting. I could go on for hours, but then people we will not watch 1 hour interview. And then the question is actually repeated from before, and I had just forgotten. I'm sorry about it. So, can a cartoonist bring revolution and help people to understand the political scenario?
Yeah, interesting version or question. Uh, Maybe.
Okay,
that's,
okay,
that's my
okay.
answer to that.
Okay. And okay, we have one very, very last question, which is also, I think, another difficult one. Um, and it's so this says, I am a translator working on translation of caricatures for my master dissertation. Any advice, any recommended book?
Mm, for cartoon translation,
Yeah.
and cartoons translation actually is very subjective thing. I think
Mm,
it. I also sometimes have difficulties with that of translation of cartoons. So there is no
yeah, I think that's
one thing
complicated.
like that you can.
But I've got a comment for Rator33, which is the person that asked the question. If you can send the question again, like to the Cartoon Movement account, I can answer the question more in detail, and maybe you can explain exactly what you need, and we can help you maybe. But okay, it's been already almost 3/4 of an hour. I think it was really interesting. Do you have any final remark? Do you want to say something specific? Do you, I don't know, want to say like your website, where to find you, where to add you, and things like this?
Uh, Yes, you can find my works in mainly in my Instagram account, also in Caricatura LV, and in my homepage as well, gatisluka.com and Caricatura LV. Yeah, or just put my name in Google and you will find it. And
Okay.
keep drawing, and
Okay.
be positive. So it's also important, especially
Yeah.
in that COVID
Yeah, of
time.
course.
Stay
Yeah.
positive.
And stay distant from people also, right? That's what they say now. But okay, so thank you a lot. So thank you guys. This
Thank
was the
you.
second episode of Satire Live Talks. We are now seeing which will be the third guest of the next episode, and we will post this episode on our different channels of the Cartoon Movement in the next days. So then you can rewatch it again, and then of course under that you can ask other questions, and then we will answer also those. So thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gatis. It was really super interesting. Good luck
Thank
with
you.
everything, and I hope we'll see you soon.
Yep. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Ciao, guys.